And we're back. So we were in the middle of this example of converting 2 times, where it's a 2-step process. We were going from pints to gallons, but if we look at our table, we can only go pints to quarts and then quarts to gallons. So we're going to have to do 2 steps in order to get to where we need to be. So we'd started with our pints, our total pints, which was 32, and we're changing over to quarts. And we know that pints is the smaller number, or the smaller unit. And so whenever we go from small to big, we'll have fewer big units than we will smaller units. So we are dividing. That's where that comes from. And then we look at our table up here, and we know that there are fewer, or that pints are smaller, so we'll use that 2, which is where this came from. And then all we have to do is divide. 32 divided by 2. And if you don't know that off the top of your head, then you've got some space over here to write it down. 2 goes into 3 one time. Subtract, bring down the 2. 2 goes into 12 6 times. So 32 pints equals 16 quarts. And now we'll move that number down. 16 quarts. And we're going into gallons this time. So we need to know which is bigger, quarts or gallons. And if you look at your kingdom of gallon, or if you look at the table here, you'll see that gallons is bigger. So we're going small to big again, which means we'll have less of these than we do of these, which means we're going to be dividing again. Okay, now I have to look at my conversion here, quarts to gallons. In 1 gallon, there are 4 quarts. If quarts is my smaller unit, then I'm going to use that base number from the smaller unit, which is 4. 16 divided by 4 equals 4. Ta-da! So 32 pints equals 4 gallons. Okay? All right, let's do some examples from our questions here. We're going to skip over number 1, so just put an X through that one. Okay? We're going to jump to number 2. Oops. Going gallons to pints. Now, if you look back up at your table or back at your notebook or your kingdom of gallon, you'll see that there's no gallons to pints. So we're kind of doing the opposite of what we just did here. We're going backwards. So I know that I can't convert gallons to pints right away, but I can convert gallons to what? Which unit can we convert gallons to? Quarts. So I'm going to put 3 gallons is the same as how many quarts. Remember not to get your P's and Q's flipped around. Okay, we're going big to small. And whenever we get big to small, that means we're going to have more smalls than we do bigs. So I'm going to times by, we need the smaller base number. Quarts are smaller, so we'll use 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And now I can use that 12 quarts to find out how many gallons that is. Oh, no, not gallons, sorry, pints. Going to gallons would be undoing what we just did. Sorry about that. Okay, so 12 quarts is how many pints between these two, which is the bigger unit, which is the smaller unit. We know pints are smaller than quarts, so here we're going big to small again, which means we'll be timesing because there's going to be more of these. Lots of littles make up a few bigs, so there's going to be more pints than there are quarts. Let's find out what we multiply by. Here's our conversion. 1 quart equals 2 pints. If pints are the smaller unit, then we're going to use that base number, which is 2. 12 times 2 equals 24. So that means that 3 gallons is the same as 24 pints. Okay, Some of them are going to be just one step, like we practiced on the very front page, like we practiced in our notebooks, like this one, quarts and pints. That's just a one step. I have quarts and pints up here. But if ever you find yourself looking on here and you see quarts and you're going quarts to fluid ounces, they're not on the same line, or even quarts to cups. Those aren't on the same line either. So if you're moving lines on here, that means it's a two-step problem because you've got two lines to work with. Okay? Let's see. Let's jump to number 14 because the rest of these problems that I'm going to have you do on the top part, these are all the same as what we just did. Just doing some converting. For these middle section questions, though, these ones are asking you to compare with greater than, less than, or equal to. Well, how can we compare them if they're not the same unit? I can't compare apples and oranges. They're not the same fruit. So to get them to where I can compare them, I have to change one or the other into the other unit. So that means I either have to change cups into pints or change pints into cups. For myself, and I said this in the other video for 10.1, I like to go big to small as often as I can because it's multiplying and it's faster for me to work with. So between cups and pints, who's the bigger unit? Pints are bigger, so I'm going to put 14 pints equals how many cups? We already know the other unit we need to get to. So let's look back up. Do we have a conversion for pints and cups? Yes, indeed we do. And we already know that cups is smaller, so this is our smaller unit. We'll use the base number for that unit, which is 2. And we also know that when we go from big to small, we multiply, because there's going to be lots of littles. 14 times, we said 2, is 28. So now 14 pints equals 28 cups. Now I can compare cups to cups. 28 cups, 28 cups, those are equal. Okay, let's do one more of those. Let's do number 15. Pints and quarts. Between those two, which is the bigger unit? Pints or quarts? Looking back at our table, we know that quarts is bigger. Remember, I like to go big to small, but if you want to go small to big and work left to right, that's also fine. You should come up with the same answer. 13 quarts equals how many pints? Big to small, I'm going to have lots of littles, so I'll be multiplying by something. Let's go check our chart. Between pints and quarts, pints is the smaller unit, so we'll be using the base number for that, which is 2. Come back down. 13 times 2. Okay. And just like you did over here, if you don't have room, just go ahead and work it out on your paper. You should have enough room for that. If you don't, then grab another piece of scratch paper. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. So 13 times 2 is 26. 13 quarts then equals 26 pints. And now I can compare pints to pints. 25 pints, 26 pints. So that would be 25 pints is less than 26 pints or 13 quarts. Okay. I do want to show you how to work backwards just in case. Let's see here. So let's look at number 16, between quarts and cups. So going small to big this time. Between quarts and cups, who's small? Cups is the smaller one, so we'll start with him. 80 cups is how many? But do I have a conversion between cups and quarts? Let's check. Here's cups. Here's quarts. It's on a different line, which means they don't go together right away. It's going to be a two-stepper. So we have to go cups to who first? Who's the bridge? What's the same between this row and this row? Pints. Pints are the bridge. So down here then, I'm going to go 80 cups into how many pints? Okay. Looking back up here, find the smaller unit. Cups is smaller, so we'll use 2, that base number. And since I'm going small to big, there's going to be less of these than there are of these, so I'm going to divide by that 2. 80 divided by 2, pretty easy one, 4. 40, sorry, golly. Okay, I'm not quite to quarts yet though, so I have to say 40 pints is how many quarts? Okay, small to big again, so I'm going to divide by, need that smaller unit. Pints is smaller, so we'll use 2. 40 divided by 2 is 20. So 80 cups equals 20 quarts. And now I can compare quarts to quarts. 20 quarts, 20 quarts, those are equal. Okay, try those bottom 3 on your own. And make sure that you check the assignment chart for the other questions you're supposed to do. If I pulled that up real quick here, give me just a second. Looking at these, whenever you see something like this, 1 and then a dash and then another number, if ever you see a dash in between those numbers, that means I want you to do that number and all the numbers in between. So this would be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, on the next page, this would be 5 through 17. So you do 5, everything in between 17 and number 17. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, I think there was some kind of confusion last time we had this. So whenever you see a dash in between numbers, it's on here quite a few times, that means that I want you to do all the numbers in between them, including the beginning and the end ones. Okay? As always, let me know if you have questions, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!